I'm Himmetpreet Kaur, and I grew up in New Brunswick, spent most of my adult working life in the Arctic, in the Northwest Territories and Yukon, and now I'm enjoying my retired life in Toronto. I didn't grow up wanting to be a lawyer, but I eventually became one. And what else to tell you about me? I have 4 kids with my second husband. And first of all, I mean, if we're doing a better job of understanding each other, politicians aren't dividing us anymore, right? The media can't divide us anymore. It's not a one community against another community kind of thing. If we do a better job of understanding each other, we help each other through these things, and we form a new community and a new Canada and a new culture and a new way we look at everything. But I think you're right. We've done a wonderful job in Canada of welcoming the entire world, right? I mean, I can't think of a single country or culture that isn't represented somewhere here in Canada. But we haven't done a fantastic job of understanding what it means to live in one cultural norm and suddenly be shifted to another one and have to adapt to that. I think we're a little bit arrogant in Canada and thinking, well, it's so wonderful here. It must be so easy to adapt, right? Because we love it. It's fantastic for us, so why wouldn't it be fantastic for everybody else, right? So, I mean, I think that we've got those rose-colored glasses on and they need to come off, and we need to deal with the reality. I mean, moving from Canada to India for 6 months was a stress in another direction, suddenly living in a culture where, especially women, I was a woman traveling alone, and women are treated very differently there. In some ways, I think they're treated with a little more respect, and in a lot of ways they're treated with less respect, but different, and adapting to that. If that was going to be difficult for me, it's got to be difficult coming the other way as well, and I think if we demand better for our kids, they have to be able and be exposed to reading books that are written, by men and women from other cultures. And they have to be exposed. I think we live in a society where we don't want anyone saying negative things about us, but they have to be exposed to ideas of other cultures that criticize the West, right? And they have to be taught to critically think through all of those issues, recognize their own bias, thinking a little more critically through every issue. I think we'd all be better off, right? And I think we also have to bring back or drop this idea of, the powerful know everything and we just need to listen to them and be sheep, right? Because we don't. I wish, if anything, I hope that my children understand that they way outnumber the powerful. And just in numbers, they're more powerful. And I don't care who you're talking to, you have a voice. And your voice can be powerful. And it can be used to defend yourself. It can be used to defend other people. It can be used to stand up with somebody that you have zero in common with and ask for what's right and demand what's right. And I think, if our kids start to realize the power that they have, they'll stop being swayed. I think we need to teach our children not to drown out the voices of other people just because they have an opinion. I think we need to teach them better how to cope with the fact that somebody might disagree with you. You're not always right. We've spent so much time giving them stars and stickers and you're great and you're fantastic and of course you're right. Yes, you're a wonderful person. How could you ever be wrong? Well, there's not always 2 wrongs on the side of an issue, and I think they we haven't really done a great job of teaching them how to respond to and how to listen to opposing viewpoints, you know, other perspectives, you know, and your good intentions. I think we have to teach our kids that your intentions are culturally based. You know, they really are. That doesn't mean it's the right solution for everybody, or that that intention doesn't become a negative intention somewhere else. What works for me and what makes me happy and what I think is good isn't necessarily translated to every other individual on the planet. You know, your body and your brain are a unique combination that make you. You know, leave other people out of it. But, you know, when I was a little kid, you were taught, well, you know, 50 is old and they already know everything, the elders. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't know everything. We don't have the solution. And at 50, I still love having another person's perspective on just about everything. You know, you discover food that way and literature that way and film and new ways of thinking that could make the only wisdom I'll be able to pass on to the world is that, you know, we really are, when they say we're all in this boat together, we really are. You know, Earth is tiny. We're all in it together. We're going to do things different ways, and that's okay. And we're all of us are going to do great, and all of us are going to make mistakes. And we really ought to be thinking more about, you know, that's what life is like for everybody. If we share anything in common, keep in mind that that is what life is like for everybody. You know, and I think we'd all get along much better if we just stopped imposing our views on everybody else, you know, and just sort of understood each other at that level. Loving, the more different a person is from you, it's that much more important to take a loving approach and not the approach that the general media, social media, and far too many politicians or leaders these days would have you believe, because it's not, we cannot afford to live in a world of us and them. It's just, there are no us's, there are no thems. You know, put those thoughts aside, and you know, the more you think you don't have in common with somebody, if you get to know them, you'd be shocked to find out how much you have in common. I mean, obviously I'm not Indian, but I'm Sikh, you know, but I live in a community where the women are very isolated, and connections, I think, are so important because, I mean, honor killing is real. It's a real thing. Last year, we lost 6 members of our community. And connection is the only way to prevent that from happening. And it's not just connections for those women to keep them safe, but it's connections for the people who are doing this. You know, they're isolated as well because of the culture. They can't talk about their issues. You know, things, what starts out as a little flame quickly turns into a volcano and turns into something god awful, you know. And it's my belief that connection and real community, not just artificial community, but real community, is what prevents these kinds of things.